This story comes from the pages of the 2025 comic series Predator vs. Spider-Man, issue number 1. Please support the official release. The story begins like any good Spider-Man tale does, and that's in the streets of New York City. It's the middle of summer, and the city residents are enduring a sweltering heat wave, doing everything they can to stay cool. Amidst the intense heat, we see a chilling darkness too was present, where we witness a team of officers investigating a crime scene. Munching on some ice cubes, we see a Detective LaPearl arrive, saying that she had never seen anything quite like this before. This wasn't just any crime scene. This was a full-on murder investigation, where we see 3 corpses strung up to the ceiling, all with their skin completely stripped from their bodies. Detective LaPearl would notice there was more than met the eye. There was more than skin missing. Each body was missing a piece: a jaw, a rib, and a finger. One of the investigators would ask just what all of this meant, where LaPearl believed it may have been the work of some sort of disturbed trophy hunter. LaPearl would then ask the investigator just why he was talking to the surrounding neighbors, since that was her job, only to see that the man had mysteriously vanished. Just then, the real investigators would arrive, apologizing for being late, where the woman then questioned just who she was talking to before. In a very Batman-esque move, we would see that this investigator was actually Peter Parker in disguise, who quickly changed into his spider suit and swung off to the skies, calling into his boss J. Jonah Jameson, telling the man that he had something. In an irate, likely heat-stroke-induced diatribe, Jameson then told the young man that this better be a genuinely good story this time, namely one that's full of fear and panic, and gets that sweet ad revenue coming in. He'd go on to tell Peter that the paper barely had budget anymore, and he was 5 subscriptions away from losing his job. Man, so even the Daily Bugle has fallen prey to the YouTube SEO gods? Is nothing sacred anymore? Parker would then ask the man if a mass murderer would count as front page news, where Jameson told him that he better have photos. Peter would say he was en route to the Bugle building, but would have to delay his arrival as he had to take care of something first. This something, of course, being a full-on armed robbery, where we see a team of masked men sprinting out of a bank while opening fire on the officers pursuing them. The criminals would then make their way to the getaway car, where they would fly through the city streets. Spider-Man would be in hot pursuit, where he'd notice the men careening their way towards a group of children who were playing in a nearby fire hydrant. Not about to let the poor kiddos get turned into street pizza, Spidey would web them up and swing them to safety, just in the nick of time, as the vehicle plowed right through where they were playing and drove into a nearby warehouse. Things would then cut inside, where we'd see the men vacate the car, where their leaders said they would now need to split the cash and go their separate ways and not talk to anyone for 2 weeks so the heat on them could cool down. He would then ask the men if they understood, only, much to his horror, he would look behind him to see that his comrades had been brutally slain. Drawing his weapon, the goon would frantically call out into the darkness asking who was there, where suddenly, we'd see a pair of crimson eyes illuminate right behind him. This mysterious stranger would then grab the man by the face, where it would use its otherworldly strength to instantly pull his skin completely off, where he would scream out in agony. The stalker would then activate a giant blade on its arm, where it would pierce the man straight through the heart, where he would fall to the ground dead. Approaching the bloodied corpse, this stalker would of course be the predator, who would pick up the dead man's face and place it over his own, creating his new mask for this brand new hunt. We'd then be taken back to Spidey, who had dropped off the kids, where he then returned to his original objective, which were the bank robbers from before. Making his way inside the warehouse, Peter would see that he was far too late. He would then call Jonah back, who demanded to know where the guy was, where Peter told him that this mass murder was not just an isolated incident. We'd then see that the Predator 2 had completely skinned these men and took their body parts. Peter then informed Jonah that whoever they were dealing with was a full-on serial killer. As the heat wave would continue, we'd be taken to the Daily Bugle, where Jameson would review Peter's story on the murders, telling the guy that it needed to induce more fear and panic, where Parker would argue back, saying that he wished to keep his original tone. The people needed to be vigilant, not scared. Just as things couldn't get any worse, we'd see the city experience an outage due to everyone pushing the power grid to the max using their ACs and cooling devices. We would see just how severe this outage was, as things are taken to Mary Jane, who is riding the subway, where suddenly the car's power would be cut off, where her and all the other riders would be stranded in the underground darkness. As the patrons would worry and question just what was going on, MJ would come across a young woman who started to have a slight meltdown due to her having extreme claustrophobia. She would go to comfort the girl, telling her that while it may feel tight inside, there was still plenty of space just outside their car door. While this would help calm the woman down, she would soon notice there was something out there amidst all that space that MJ just mentioned. Both women would then immediately be filled with a steaming pile of PTSD, as none other than the Predator, wearing his new face, would then smack up against the window where he would stalk his new prey. Yes, bro, we see the new fit. You can calm down now. Back at the Bugle, a rather pessimistic JJ would wonder just how they were going to get this story published without power and internet, where Peter opted for them to take things a little old school. Reminding the man they still had a full-on printing press, Peter and Jonah put the story into the physical papers, where they and several other workers would then parade through the streets, selling them to passerby citizens. We even get a great panel of a very angry and sweaty Jameson screaming at the people to buy an issue. This has so much 1980s New York energy, and I love every second of it. Jameson's ranting and raving caught the attention of Detective LaPearl from earlier, who snatched a paper from the guy, where she saw that the photo credit of the crime scene went to Peter Parker. Despite Jonah demanding $20 for the issue, LaPearl ignored him and quickly deduced that Parker was indeed the guy disguised as the investigator from before, and was out to arrest him for disseminating the pictures without police consent. She would then demand for Jonah to tell her where Peter was, where the dude, protecting his brand, would hold his own, and refused, saying that he was protected by the Fourth Amendment. LaPearl, being just as ornery, told Jameson she was in no mood for games, and threatened to arrest him as well if he didn't give her Peter. JJ then did what he does best, and that was argue back with the lady, while good old Spiderman swung over the both of them, where he made his way to MJ's apartment. This being one of the good dimensions where he and Mary Jane actually had a normal and healthy relationship, Peter came to tell her that he was going to be out for a while, considering the serial killer on their hands, but wanted to check to see how her latest addition went. However, Peter would soon discover that something was dead wrong, as MJ was nowhere to be found and never made it home to begin with. Later that night, we see another Daily Bugle member selling issues of the paper, warning the public that there was a predator on the loose. Yes, one potentially worse than P. Diddy. Despite him merely attempting to inform the public, the poor guy was soon accosted by two thugs who went to rob him, where one of the men would quickly regret this as a full-on arrow shot right through his hand. Wondering just who the heck this was, the guys attempted to flee while firing at their pursuer, where another arrow then shot the other man right in the head, killing him instantly. The bugle worker would then look on in horror at his savior, who warned him that he should not be out here, for he was not strong enough. The city was a dangerous place after all, especially after dark. We would then see that this savior was none other than Kraven the Hunter, who was ready to let the man go, but not before he told him everything he knew about this predator.